Welcome to the Toffee Blue, George Sort for all things Everton, and welcome to extra time segment for Wolves 1, Everton 2. Everton actually pull off a very, very competent away display at Molineux to take all 3 points. Michael Keane scored the winning goal after Alex Iwobi opened the scoring, and Ruben Neves actually scored inside the penalty area. Very interesting game in many respects. I'm looking back on this one with Paul and Owen. Start with you, Owen. How do you feel about that performance? It was a really good away display, I thought.
Yeah, I was really, really pleased with the way we went about, and there was so many times in that game I felt that there was just a different point where Everton, because of Everton there quite a bit, and it just felt like we didn't sort of succumb to the sort of stereotypes and the norms that are associated with Everton in sort of tough away games. We just dug in there, stuck it out. We defensively very, very good, and okay, we weren't blessed with attacking options, but we didn't need them in the end because we got a set piece and a nice bit of play from more creative players, and Iwobi finished it off. So even though it wasn't vintage in terms of what we could do in terms of affecting the game more, but I thought the sort of the desire to make sure that we could at least get something from the game got us the win. And that sort of, I'm going to say it again, clean sheet mentality to just limit the amount of chances the opposition
Clean sheet
has.
mentality that didn't deliver a clean sheet.
No, it isn't as much as getting a clean sheet. Every time it's the
taking
idea.
pride in keeping it out the goal. I know what you mean.
Yeah, making sure that the opposition don't score more goals than you. I think that's probably a better way of sort of describing it, but making sure we keep a clean sheet is a part of that. We didn't quite on the other night because of a bit of a mix-up between Davis and what have you, but yeah, Eva's still part from that. I thought we were defensively very good, and we found a couple of moments, and we moved into the top 4 for a brief period of time. I mean, it's up and down that much at the moment. You can't really stick a position on any football club, but we're over 30 points, and we're not at halfway point yet, so we can get another win before we hit 19 games. So I'll probably be in May with it.
I'm going to stay up.
Well, yeah. Well, I was going to be a bit more positive and say that if we get 35 points by the time we get to 19 games, which is this rate, will probably be March by the time we play the 19th game with the postponements. Then we could be on track for something like 70 points. So very interesting when you look back at the first half of the season that we've been really, really good. And I thought this game was just a huge example of Everton in the last 2 months or so.
I think we've really learned. I mean, I don't think we necessarily played amazingly, but we've learned to grind out results, and I don't think that's something we had in us before Carlo came here.
I was speaking to, I was reading a lot of what people was putting on Twitter after the game, and the purists do believe unless you've had 70% possession and won 4-0 and 28 shots, you haven't played well, which is a load of nonsense, but
you let the club jaggers though on. Let's be honest.
You let them live in their own football bubble, because ultimately for me, 3 points at the end of the day is exactly the only thing.
For those of you out there who do believe in like XG,
it's not XG. I mean, XG
no. I know what you mean though. Like, we've had less XG in probably the majority of our games this season, and we've won
more
than
we've lost. It's this nonsense peddled by people who usually said Graham Potter should be the Everton manager. So that's the kind of level
playing
of
football the right way.
You really don't like Graham Potter, do you? You've really got it in for Graham Potter.
Graham Potter, honestly, has won. I think there's like the most bang average teams have won the same amount of games as the Amex in 2020 as Brighton, which is 1. So I'm not talking about Graham Potter to do him down. I'm just saying he's the sort of poster boy for these people who won 28 shots and 70% possession. Unless you've had that, you've not played well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That was my point anyway. That there's more than one way to skin a cat. Everton are doing it in their own way at the moment, which is finding an effective way to play football, whether the purest like it or not.
Yeah, it's what
that's my point about digging into Graham Potter again.
Yeah. It's one of them. I'm surprised. Thank God Eddie I wasn't in a job because.
Well, I've heard a few rumblings that Newcastle might want him. I'm telling you now, Newcastle Eddie Howe equals war with me. I hate them, both of them.
That would be absolute carnage. I mean, I can imagine it turning into carnage at St James's Park as well, by the way, because I don't think that'd end well for Newcastle.
It wouldn't, no.
But no, I doubt that'll end up coming to pass. Even Mike Ashley isn't that daft.
We'll see.
But yeah, I thought we defend them very well. And it doesn't make for it definitely doesn't do my nerves any good, put it that way, because we always seem to be grinding out a 1-goal lead in the dying minutes. And
when we scored the second goal, Keane's header, I'm going to jump in the gun a bit here with the game, but once we scored that second goal, I had no doubt we'd win the game. I was fully confident that Everton would win that game 2-1. Now you're laughing because you're.
I've watched too many Roberto Martinez games to shake the trauma off me.
I've managed to sort of take that away from my head. That sort of Marco Silva Martinez era of playing kamikaze football. Whereas I know now this group of players, if they take a lead with about 20 minutes to go, they're more than likely going to see it out.
Yeah.
I think they've got too much of a sort of, I don't know, a mentality to see games. I know the Newcastle game was a massive anomaly last year.
I know, but I was at that game as well, so that's just re-injected the trauma into the veins from Martinez.
Yeah, I still don't know how that ever came to pass that, but my point being anyway, I feel like that
was my last time in Goodison before this all happened.
Really?
Well. The last time I was in Goodison until now was stood in the stands wondering what the hell had just happened to us.
My last words to Goodison were very strongly worded messages towards the then referee in the Man United game.
Oh, yeah, I was there for that.
But yeah, Paul, what was your take on the performance yesterday? Is there anything that stood out to you?
I just liked the mentality change that Owen touched on. It was night and day from what we saw at Rotherham, wasn't it? Where against Rotherham, it just looked like the players had been dragged out of bed, didn't it? And they all just couldn't be bothered. And there was not that extra spring in all the steps. It's like they just weren't quick to chase people down. They weren't passing the ball around with any zip, really. And it was the opposite against Wolves. It looked like even at the times in the game where they were having the better of it, we sort of had this mindset of, you're not going to take this game away from us. You're not going to just knock us down. You're not going to knock us down and keep us down. We're going to stand up, take what you can throw at us, and then that's what we've done. We, in a sense, rope-a-dope them, to use a boxing term. We buzzed them early. They came back and had a little rally, and then looked good for spells here and there. I mean, over the 90 minutes, they probably were the better. I wouldn't say they were the better team, actually, but they looked like they were having the better of it for a large period. Yeah, I wouldn't say they were the better team, actually, but they looked like they were having the better of it because they were getting a lot of shots off at our goal, even though they weren't really going anywhere. I think Fabio Silva was the only effort on target, wasn't he, in the first half? Other than
I'm not going to lie, he's a bit of a Strapolesi himself, and he seems to have
17.
And
he's 17. It's a bit early to be throwing him into Strapolesi.
I'm not judging it. I'm judging the decision making.
Umani asked for 17 months.
About 50 years ago. My point being, though, is I know they were having most of the possession and most of the shots and most of the corners and free kicks around our box, but after their equaliser and that little 10-minute spell they had after it, where they were looking really good, they didn't look like they were going to score again. Whereas you had that feeling of, if we can just get one good chance dropped to us, I'd fancy us to bury it, even though we don't have a striker there. And that's what happened exactly. We waited for our moments. We got a set piece, made the most of it, got a goal. And I wasn't quite as confident as Owen was when I thought, right, that's game done. We've won this, because it is Everton.
Confidence.
Yeah, it's still Everton at the end of the day. But I did think to myself, unless something crazy happens here, unless the referee just gives them a stupid penalty or one of our players does something absolutely daft, then I don't see them really breaking through us, because we just look that solid.
But that was the thing. I think for me, obviously, there was
to be fair, my confidence wasn't as much as our own sort of ability as the fact that their striker was Fabio Silva that gave me the confidence.
Yeah, I
And
think for me,
Cantone came on, who's got the
You're
first
in a
touch, I think.
you're in a very bullying mood tonight, aren't you? It's like first you're having a running down Graham Potter, now you're having a pop at a 17-year-old saying he's hopeless. Like,
Yeah, I know he's younger than me, isn't he?
Yeah, leave the lad alone. He is trying. Do you know what I mean? But
and
whether
for
he's
me, I
good or
think,
not,
do you know when you were saying, like you said, that
It's Wolves who wound me up.
you expected us to like give away a soft penalty or something. I mean, there was the Yeti Mina sort of thing that like Wolves fans were proper kicking off about, even though there wasn't much in it.
It still
were they?
happens.
What's this? I
Right at the end of
this.
the game, like in at the time, or maybe just before it, like
That
across
5 minutes of added time.
Yeah, the 5 minutes, that would definitely
That 5 minutes of added time.
Where did he
that the
find
referee
5 minutes from?
That's what I was going to say. That 5 minutes of added time that the referee just invented. He was doing his bit to help them. It's just they couldn't make
No, the referee, honestly, if Everton ever won goals to the club going into the 90th minute, it's always 5 minutes plus, without fail.
I'm convinced. I've said this on Twitter. I'm convinced referees are told to do that, on purpose. I really am. I think if a game hasn't had a certain amount of goals in it, or it's a game that will has like a lot of impact on the league, like a team could jump up several positions. I think they're told at the end of the day, the Premier League is a brand. It's something that wants to draw in new fans, make it as dramatic as you can.
Corrupt.
That's your words. That's the word I'd use. But the word they'd use is let's make it as entertaining and dramatic as possible. Let's just throw on as much at a time as we can. I know
drama.
Something can happen. Yeah, I'm convinced they do it on purpose. I really am. There's no other explanation.
But I know for a fact that, like, I mean, Wolves fans made a lot of the Yeti Mina. Basically, it was basically a cross come in, and he caught Kiana Hoover with an
elbow.
And like Wolves fans were like, that should have been a penalty. Like, where's the VAR and all that? But to be honest, I was a bit nervous when I saw that. But the real one where it really bricked it was when Decore gave away that free kick and Neves hit the post.
Yeah, I was. That was a moment where I did think,
give that away. I was bricking it.
Yeah, because he can whack them in. Neves, I really rate that. Neves,
he's a very good player, Neves, and I think that's the first goal he's ever scored for them. That's not a penalty that he actually scored in the area, because most of his goals are like 40-yard screamers.
Well, he had a screamer about somewhere in the second half. I can't remember whether it was late on in the game or just after half time.
Yeah, he flicked it up and volleyed it, didn't he?
Half volley. Yeah, I mean, it was never going in, but on the replay, it didn't look. It was actually closer than it looked in real time. It looked like it went flying well over the bar, but in the replay, Pickford was scrambling a bit. But other than that free kick, there was no real moment where you think, oh God, like they're in here. Someone just get it out, as the typical saying is at Goodison, get it away, push out. There was no like frantic moments of defending other than that free kick. But you just think, yeah. Other than that free kick, you thought, I don't really see where a goal's going to come from here unless we just absolutely gift it to them. So
they didn't put us under a lot of pressures at the end. That goes for the whole game, really, not just when we put our own noses in front. I think they had a few maybes, but I don't think it was as such. It weren't a performance. We talk about our defense. They had 13 shots, but I don't know how many of them were on target. Was it just the goal? Maybe
not many.
There weren't many. But
the goal and that tame shot from Silva in the first half, and I can't remember any other than that.
They didn't have us all over the place like that. It was very much them trying to feel it out. They couldn't. So we get.
We're very, very street smart now, which is something we haven't been for a long time.
We haven't been probably not since Moyes. I don't think even under Moyes, not that much.
Not since early Moyes, like the Moyes who was getting us in the Europa League and finishing top 5 regularly. We're a team now that we know when to commit a foul, we know when to waste time, we know when to, even the manager, fair play to him, he knows when to make substitutions. Do you remember when Moyes used to wait until the last minute of stoppage time so we make a sub?
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, he knows.
Even little things like Duncan Ferguson pretending not to be able to turn the freaking board on to do the sub. It's like waste time.
It all makes a difference, and all clubs do it to some extent. They all know how to have a bit of gamesmanship that goes in their favour. And for years, we were just we seemed to be just this holier than thou outfit where an opposition player would go down injured and we couldn't wait to kick it out and help them, even if we had them under pressure. It annoyed me so much, and we don't do that anymore, and I'm so happy about it.
No, you see, we're not supposed to do this because it's apparently anti-football. That if you use anything to your advantage like that, it's anti-football. So
That's know what it is. It's a proper like football Twitter terminology, that isn't it? All that anti-football. It comes out of like these top six, basically bandwagoners. It's like
it's basically it's something that's used by big teams that they want little teams to be, so they can beat them easily. That's all it is, and I don't give a shite about what top teams. I don't give a shite what anyone who doesn't support Everton likes it or doesn't.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. It's anti-football though, so we can't applaud it because it's anti-football.
It's not being played in the right way.
No, it isn't, because you can't take the ball in your own corner, or if a player goes down with cramp, that's anti-football. So it's all right seeing players literally dive all over the place. That's part of the modern game, but players going down with cramp or anything that's anti-football. Just thought I'd let you know.
God forbid if Virgil van Dijk had cramp.
I don't even want to mention them, to be honest. Like, I don't. Yeah, I don't. No, and I'm not saying that to be like horrible bitter. It's just they're so far from my headspace right now, and they should be so far from every Evertonian's headspace. Who's asked what they're doing? Focus on what Everton are doing, because we're doing really well at the minute.
One game at a time, isn't it? Our next game, whoever our next opponent is probably in March at some point. But whoever that is, just make sure that.
It's going to be Sheffield in the cup now, isn't it? After the
Wednesday,
today. Yeah. 24th,
he'll probably send
is that?
24th, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. It's an evening kickoff because it's going to be on BT. I've seen it's 8 o'clock.
No, in Chancery, he'll send the under-14s.
Well, we were talking about this, me and James, on the live stream the other day, Owen. James knows more about Sheffield than I do. I'm going to be honest. I haven't followed them at all. I couldn't tell you much about them at all. Like, what should we expect when Sheffield rock up?
I think. Oh yeah, Owen, you're probably clued up as well, mate.
We'll do a preview of this, but are they going to give us a game like Rotherham are going to do?
They would have if they'd give Tony Pulis the money he wanted in January. But I don't even know who the manager's going to be for the game, because they went in separate ways.
So they don't have a manager? I didn't even know that, honestly. So they're going to turn up with a caretaker by the look of it.
Probably. They appointed Tony Pulis and they gave him a few months. The results were patchy, like, but
they were bottom and he got them off the bottom. They were like a couple of points off safety.
He'd won a few and he'd started to clamour. He'd started to get it going, and then he said, I don't know how much money. He needed money in January to keep them up. They started on minus points under Gary Monk and then the Chancery, being that lunatic he is, probably said, what's cheaper, sacking Pulis or giving him money? So they sacked him. And so he went, and though they haven't got a manager, Paul Cook's been linked, but I don't think Paul Cook will go there.
He's better than that, if you ask me. If
Joey Barnes,
I really rate him as a manager. I think he deserves a top half championship team.
Yeah. It could be Joey Barton. His name's gone through the Browns. I don't know, to be fair, but if Tony Pulis was there, you'd know he'd give us a game. But I don't know who their manager is.
Yeah.
Pulis.
You've told me more than. Yeah, you've told me more than I knew. If Pulis,
I don't know this much.
Yeah, I think I'd heard that Pulis was their manager, but I'd completely forgot about it, and I didn't even know that he'd been sacked until Owen told me then. But if you'd have said to me on the live stream the other day, James, that Tony Pulis was Sheffield Wednesday's manager, I would have gone, oh, that's going to be a dog of a game. That, he's just going to come and play the most. I know we were just saying how anti the right way of football we are. The other.
But you can respectfully admit that it makes it hard to play against.
Yeah, I was going to say, for as much as we were saying, like, there's no such thing as the right way to play football, you just knew Tony Pulis was going to come and throw every man behind the ball and just make it the worst spectacle you could imagine. And the players who'd be on the day would just be really, like, just stuck in maybe in a bit of a I can't be arsed mood like they were against Rotherham, because the opponent was just being so negative. You could just pitch them sitting in a block, and we'd end up resorting to shots from
knocking it round like the midfield all game, and
and it would just be one of those games.
for as long as he could, and then maybe nick one off a set piece. I still think he
Yeah.
will do that, but I just don't think he'll be as organised to do that without him there.
No, and Tony Pulis is not going to be their manager. That makes me feel a lot better about that tie now.
And knowing the owner, Chanceri, he'll probably get the caretaker to send the under-12s in because they've got a championship game on the Wednesday.
Happy days.
So, I don't know who their caretaker is, by the way. I just know it's a caretaker.
Well, with regard to that, obviously from the game that we've just witnessed, if we take that attitude into that next game, then I think we'll be absolutely fine. Yeah, it's about, can we, maintain high standards. I didn't like what I saw against Rotherham, and I was very pleasantly surprised by what I saw in the Wolves game. So, if these players can just sort of keep the standards high, then they can do it. They can beat anybody.
I think Ancelotti is slowly but surely rubbing off on the players and imprinting his personality on the team. It can't happen overnight with any manager. It's going to take time for the manager to get the team to represent him, because everyone says, don't they, in the game, the team on the pitch is a reflection of the man on the side. And very slowly, Ancelotti is imprinting himself onto this team where, okay, there's the odd bump, there's the odd game where it doesn't go your way and you're quite annoyed afterwards thinking, how have we lost that? But a lot of the time, you look at it and you think, you know what, we've really got this nailed here to a T. We know exactly how to play against this lot. We're doing all the right things. We're staying really organised. We're not panicking if we go behind or things don't go our way. And we're making our own luck, which is so important because we haven't had one of those managers who does all of that in so long.
Yeah, he's a very, very intelligent man.
I was saying before about the purists who just moan about any sort of negative team we put out up to them, but take their moaning aside, he's done a fantastic job in the year. He's been here sort of dragging us up from our asses into where we are now. I think he's done an amazing job, and I just want to put a bit of appreciation on the man's name because I don't think he gets the credit he deserves for the job he's done.
I think he certainly does within our quarters, but in the media, obviously not enough, nowhere near enough.
No, all they talk about in the media about Ancelotti when they praise him is what a lovely fella he is, and you can't not like him. He's such a gentleman. It's like, yeah, we know all of that. We've known all that for decades. That he's a really nice fella.
Start praising him for being an absolute genius of a manager.
Yeah, praise him for being the tactical genius and putting on all these masterclasses that he does every time.
Getting the best out of a team, but let's be honest, we still got some very mediocre players, and he gets
mediocre being generous.
Well, he's getting a lot out of them even, and that's actually something he really needs to be commended, that he's getting some good performances out of players who aren't really good enough.
Even the players who we previously sort of as a fan base sort of put to one side, he's really got a tune out of them. Like Iwobi probably being the best example. He was really unsure about what his role was before. Carlo, and now
dare I say it, Owen, Andre Gomez got a brilliant assist in that game for the winner.
Yeah, even broken the clock, strike twice. Right.
Well, it goes back to what I was saying before. He knows how to change the tempo of a game. He knows what players to bring off the bench and when to use them. Do you know what I mean? He's not just throwing players on for the sake of throwing them on just to get a couple of minutes. He knows that Andre Gomez in that instance would come on and grab a hold of the ball in midfield and stop them dispossessing us because Doucouré was tired and Davis wasn't really doing much outside of his own half. He knew Gomez would get on the ball and push us further up the field and allow the front three or front two, whatever they were, or front four, depending on how we set up. The attacking players could stay a little bit further forward and not retreat so much because chances were Wolves weren't going to go far past our halfway line in possession because Gomez would be there to cut it out. He just reads these things really well. And he knows when to throw on Richarlison because Richarlison, he knew their back line's tired. If Richarlison's got any minutes in him at all, use him for the final 15, 20 when he's fresh and he can run at them, be very direct, and he'll just give their defenders a nightmare. There's no point just throwing on a striker who's going to sit in the box because whether they're tired or not, their defenders will be able to handle them.
I mean, Richarlison, he missed a good chance to kill the game in the last couple of minutes, but if he was fully fit, I reckon he sorted that one out easy. But what I will say is, considering even with him not being maybe fully fit, he did win some good little fouls for us and stuff up the pitch. We saw that we didn't really have that at the start of the game, and when he come on, he did win us a few free kicks.
that was probably in the manager's thinking. He knows if I just go on and if I go throw this centre forward on, which is what Richarlison was asked to do, and just be energetic, just run around and cause murder for their defenders, just get up close to them, come deep and get the ball and dribble, and they'll either have to foul you or you'll back off you and let you bring the ball further up. That it can let everyone behind you get further forward. It was just the right idea. Whereas if we thrown Tosin on, then what's he going to do apart from just hang around the box? He's not going to stretch the defence. He's not going to get between the lines, is he?
It was very good. I think all the subs were quite good in terms of the decisions that he made. I mean, the Gomez one being the big one, he came on. Davis was flagging a bit. Gomez comes on and puts a really good cross in for the winner. Richarlison was great, and he brought Coleman on as well. So, like, sort of, it was almost like 2 banks of 4 by the end, proper like low block stuff, which was, that saw us over the line. I thought his 3 subs were really good decisions.
Yeah,
we were pretty much in a low block for most of the game, to be fair.
But it was a proper 4-4-1-1 by the end, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think we were on the goal line at some one point.
Well, if that's what you need to do to get over the line, that's what you do.
I agree.
As I was saying, all Wolves' hopes were of getting a second goal was just hoping they got a lucky break, or they could lump it long and get in behind us. It wasn't going to happen if we were playing 2 backs of 4.
If Neves would have scored on that free kick, they would have done the exact same thing. It's just idiots who think you should just keep attacking the game, no matter, play the same way, 3-0, or if you would 3-0 down. That really think that you shouldn't sort of defend a lead, but we did, and we won the game. So I'll keep counting the points
I think you can play when you're 3-0 up as opposed to when you're 3-0 down. You can play the same way. It's when you're 1-0 up compared to 1-0 down. You don't want to be defending a 1-0 lead by legging your entire team forward.
Yeah, but if you're 3-0 up on Man City and we start rolling out from the back, I'll be fuming.
Yeah, it's true. But yeah, I think all in all, though, we are showing a lot more nous this season. That's obviously coming from Ancelotti, but there's the additional idea of, like, some of these players really have picked up in performances, and none more so, I think, than the 2 goal scorers. Keane and Iwobi have both been. I mean, Keane, we saw a bit of it last season, but he's been absolutely excellent all season. And Iwobi's just getting better and better as the season goes on. He's starting to pick up a little bit of consistency to his game, which is something we never thought we'd see from him, and that's a real breath of fresh air. This
is my time to unshamedly sort of boast about my sort of long-term positions on these 2 players, because I'm a huge fan of Michael Keane for ages now, and I think he's a good defender. Struggles with confidence at times. Pace, he hasn't always been there, and he's never going to fit Silva ball, is he? So it was always going to be a struggle. But since the manager came in, and obviously in those days years ago with Dyche, I think he's proved to be a really good defender. So no surprises with him.
He used to be the one who leads at the back.
Yeah, he takes responsibility. He takes pride in defending, and I think people have really underestimated the fact that he's sort of been brought up in football with that sort of mentality to defend. So the fact that we're keeping clean sheets and seeing leads out now, with him being the focal point of the defence, I should be surprised to no one. And Yerry Mina as well, by the way.
Mina's another one, and Godfrey as well. I think all 3 of them take pride in defending now.
Holgate does too.
Yeah, they all do.
So when there's 4 of them, I could imagine being murder for an opposition
team.
And
by the way, can we just have a little big up the moment where Ben Godfrey was roaring at their player for being injured? I think Ben Godfrey was just proper like having a go at Pedro Neto while he was getting treatment for like a knee injury. Maybe he actually did get classes.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not? You don't win by being nice.
Exactly. It's just class though, innit? Just you love to see it.
It is pretty amazing, I'm not gonna lie, to see Ben Godfrey and Alex Iwobi. Forgot to mention him. Yeah, for me, he's always been someone I've been desperate to see given a chance in a run of games. I feel like I've always refrained from sort of going in 2 hours on him because I've always seen the talent. And yeah, I think he's doing really well now, and he's got that role, and I want to see him keep it. And I think the key for him to do that is more productivity, but good job from him as well.
getting there. Yeah, well, he contributed. We talk about him not getting enough goals or assists. He got one yesterday, and it was a good, really well taken one. So, no long may that continue.
A reminder: people were saying Balassi was better than him a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Who said that?
Joe Williams, the also 15-year-old.
Joe Williams, who used to play for Everton.
No, the lads, the wind-up merchants on Twitter.
Goodness, the man boggles. But anyway, we'll leave it at that one. Just one last thing before we finish on this one is a lot was made, Joe, before and after the game about Wolves' injuries. Like Jimenez and Pedence and Traore and that. But I feel like people are understating the amount of injuries we've had this season. Alan's out, who's a crucial player, and DCL obviously, and a few others.
If people don't want to give us credit and just blame the fact that we won on the fact that Wolves have got injuries, pardon me French, I don't give a shite. We won. We beat the team that was in front of us. They didn't beat the team that was in front of them. That's all there is to it.
That's the thing. I think we're both going through bad moments or ambles with injuries, and I think we just handled the situation, the adversity better than they did. So, and that's it. At the end of the day, but you'll never hear the press say that. So, it's down to us to be the mouthpiece for that.
As I'll say, keep saying you've got to find a way of winning. We keep finding ways of winning. So,
yeah.
No matter
very impressed with that. I think our pragmatism and our adaptability has been probably one of the best things that I've seen come out of this season.
Let other people worry about performances and passing and all that nonsense. Let's just find a way of winning every week.
Yeah. We'll leave it at that. Before Graham Potter gets mentioned again, we'll finish there. Let us know your opinions on the Wolves game, guys. Drop us a comment below. Give this video a like and subscribe for more content. And until next time, thank you guys for watching on the Toffee Blue.